What is up, beautiful people? This is Kate,
And this is Katie.
and we are back for another wonderful, magical episode of Soul Wilds. And we're talking about, I think, something really important, right? What are we talking about today, Katie?
Today, we are talking about quieting the mind.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's a big one.
It's a difficult one because my mind is never quiet. But Katie and I were talking before we keyed into the podcast today about setting intention, like we had talked about in our previous episodes. So we did that. And before we start, I wanted to do a little oracle pool, a little collective oracle pool for us and everyone tuning in. So I just ask that all of our guides, ancestors, guardians, angels, whomever for our highest good is here with us during this reading, and that you take what applies and you leave the rest. So that's what we're going to do. I found that it was interesting. So this deck I'm using is called Goddesses, Gods, and Guardians. So if you're on the video cast, I'm holding up the picture, and it's my absolute favorite deck. I found it at Barnes & Noble, and I thought it was fitting on the bottom of the deck when I opened it up, Hod, he is a Norse god, and his little saying is, tell the truth underneath. And I thought that was very fitting since we're doing a little podcast as the underlying energy, but I'm shuffling right now.
She's really good at shuffling cards.
I am not. And it was pretty direct today. So what I'll do, go figure. Wow. I guess he wanted to be heard. I felt that I only was going to do 2 cards today, and I shuffled. And the 2 that I had mentioned earlier came back up. So we have
gosh.
Imhotep, Visionary, and Hod, Tell the Truth. Wow, that is intense. I'm going to just read a little excerpt. Imhotep I've gotten before, and Hod I've also gotten before. But the Imhotep card is Visionary, designing the future, fusing ancient wisdom with modern methods. When Imhotep appears, it's a clear indication of your visionary gifts. Your soul's intention is to create pioneering change through implementing divinely inspired ideas. There's no doubt that you've come to Earth to redesign infrastructures, stir up the pot of established protocols, and use innovative and progressive methods to evolve humanity. You are visionary, guided by the divine to implement projects that can help heal and inspire our world. You can be a trailblazer who fuses ancient wisdom and cutting-edge technique. This is your time to change the world. Additional meanings. You're an indigo soul, a passionate person with a divine mandate to tear down the old and build the new. Life is bringing the perfect lessons and challenges needed to fire up your sacred purpose. A career path in medicine or architecture is opening up for you. Be bold and confident about sharing your ideas. Invocation. My mind is in touch with divine ideas. My vision creates a better world. I love that. And then Hod, Tell the Truth. Bring it out into the open. Be true to your feelings. Hod's steadfast presence is here to remove the blindfold from your eyes. He invites you to look squarely at any truth you've been avoiding. Be completely honest with yourself about your real feelings. If you've made a mistake, do your best to make amends. Integrity is essential for a clear path ahead. Hod is a guide through the dark night of the soul and can help with depression or loss of faith. He supports recovery from addiction, crisis, and trauma. He'll sit with you patiently in your darkest moments, never rushing you to heal. Hod will guide your words and actions in any situation where truth is needed. Additional meetings.
I'm just over here like about to explode with words, so go ahead.
I know, right? Additional meanings. Seek recovery for addictions. Deception or misinformation could be at play. Check all the facts. Don't try to be like others. Be naturally and authentically you. Invocation. The truth is safe. Honesty aligns me with my highest purpose. So I feel like these 2 cards they encompass exactly what Katie and I have been talking about. I feel like I've been faced with going out and finding my own path, blazing my own trail, and speaking the truth, even when it's very, very hard. And these cards are so beautiful. And even HUD has some mistletoe, a mistletoe laurel kind of crown, as we're going into the dark part of the year. So whoever that is for, I feel like it's for the both of us.
I think it can be for a lot of people. Let's just talk about, okay, last week was the Thanksgiving holiday where we had to confront a lot of hard things with family.
And tell the truth. I told the truth last week.
Even with the one where it was like, taking the blindfold off and seeing things clearly for as they are and people for who they are without judgment. And only taking what you need and leaving what you don't. And it is a hard practice. I can preach that all day, and I struggle with it. I struggled with it on Thanksgiving. But I mean, it's really calling for us to separate ourselves from the ideals and the perspective that other people have for us, and creating our own sense of self and finding our own sense of self. I hate saying finding because it's always been there, but we're so buried deep in the mold that everyone else has created around us. We have to break free from that to get to the inside. So that's what I mean by finding. But that was deep. Like,
they wanted to be heard. They wanted to be heard. That is for
anyone
sure.
else for the Thanksgiving holiday had some things to face with, trying times, things to face with yourself and your family. Bless you.
We see you.
Stay strong.
Yeah, we see you, and we're with you. We are with you. That is for sure. We all need some mindfulness after this holiday. Yeah. That is for sure.
I need a lot of things. Institutionalizing. But I wanted to real quick before we jump in today, I wanted to circle back and have a quick note or comment on something I had said in a previous podcast, because I don't want it to be misconstrued. And it does sit with me in a weird way. So much like it does for you, we overthink things, and I have to come back to it. So one thing I said was a statement that was said to me. And for me, it was okay. I didn't take it harshly, but I don't want this statement to be used and then people say, "Whoa, I don't like how she said that." Well, it wasn't my words, but I want to look at it a little different. So I said, your situation is not unique. And in that moment, I mentioned, I said, you are not unique, but I did not mean you as a person or soul or an individual. I was meaning more specific to experience. The experiences themselves are not unique. And I was talking to someone in my yoga teacher training a little bit, one of my peers, and we had gotten a little bit vulnerable that day. So we shared some things together, and she said, perhaps a better way to say it is you are not alone. And that's such a good way to put it, because that's really what we're saying here is you are not alone in that experience, but your specific perception and your specific experience of that situation is unique.
Yeah.
But the situation itself, whether it be medical or sexual abuse, emotional abuse, whatever it could be that you're facing, that itself is not unique. Your experience with that is, but you can find solace and you can find support in people who have experienced something similar. And it is not unique in this world for those types of things to occur. So I hope that helps clear it up a little bit, because I just felt weird with how it sat after listening back at the cast. But
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
We always want to take a second look. Tell the truth. Watch your words, tell the truth, right? Yeah, you got to tell the truth.
Yeah, say what you mean, mean what you say.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that's very rare in this world nowadays. But
yeah. So, and then I guess to start today, something, Kate, you already said before your card pull is it's hard to quiet the mind. And I know people that are like, I can't quiet my mind. I cannot slow down. I can't do it. I can't meditate. Regardless of meditating or quiet the mind, saying I can't is not the best way to go about the way we're thinking about life, because when we're looking at making our own personal changes, saying I can't is really, you're restricting yourself from even the possibility of being able to do these types of things.
Yeah.
So Kate, reflecting on you saying earlier that it's hard for you, how do you feel about the word can't?
I try to have really worked over the years to erase that word from my vocabulary. Because ultimately there are something like I'm most definitely never going to be a pro basketball player, right? That's just not really in my cards. I'm 5'3". You know, we tried our hardest in grade school, but that's just not the track my life is on, right? It's not that I wasn't a decent player. I just most definitely was not the best. And so it just didn't happen for me. But I think when we're talking about making change in our daily lives, can't is just not a helpful word to have, because I think you can find your own way. Now, will your way look like mine or Katie's? Probably not. Is that a bad thing? No. So oftentimes it's not can't, it's won't. Yeah. So I'm just tell the truth. That's how I look at life. Black and white sometimes.
Even in the job that I work, I have to sometimes separate with my clients. Is it a can't do or a won't do? And in that aspect of things, when we're looking at behavior, a can't do means that there's not a skill set there to be able to complete this task or activity. So then we're not looking at a can't do ever. We're looking at a can't do right now. So what skills can we develop, those prerequisites, to be able to be successful in some way at this skill or activity? So
Absolutely.
that's another way to think about it. But a good quote that I have for this, I'm going to be like quote girl.
I love a good quote.
In realizing the impact of our behavior, we become the masters of our own health and well-being. Behavior is our physical life and choices through action and speech, but it's also our thoughts and our thought patterns. A lot of times people look at behavior in a way of like just what we see people doing or habits, but it's more than that. Our thoughts are part of a behavior too, because these get stuck in patterns, and we have to start looking at these lack of a better way, positive and negative thought processes about ourselves or about the world that we live in. So another quote to follow that up with, that one of my yoga instructors actually said during one of my yoga teaching classes is, make going inside a safe, pleasant space that you want to go to.
Yes.
It makes so much sense. We do all this internal work, or we're starting, or you might be in the beginning of your adventures of starting to look inward towards your internal work. And we really need to work on cleaning the mind space, but it's also the heart and the gut and just your insides. Make it a physical space you want to go to rather than avoid. A lot of us avoid it.
You are your own most sacred and safe space. There should be nothing else. Yeah. Well, you can be. You should be. But a lot of us, I'm one of them, that I wasn't for myself. So, yeah.
Yeah, me neither. I think a lot of us forget to do that. We were never taught. I was never taught to do that.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about cleaning up the mind, we're talking about this mind clutter. And this is part of, but not all of, the work that Kate and I always reference in our podcasts, and talking about you have to do the work. That's part of the work. Well, this is part of that work. And eventually we might be able to have an episode where we look specifically at some more things that are considered work, but it's going to look different for everyone, because it's your internal space, it's your internal life, it's your experiences, which are unique to you and not us. So keep that in mind. So when we're looking at mind clutter and cleaning up the mind, we're looking at what's on your mind, what's staying with you, what are you packing? So when we think of mind clutter, think of like, I've had someone explain it as a backpack once, but I have read it in books as luggage. What are you carrying around with you all the time that you don't need, that is not serving you? Are we doing too much? Are we holding too much? Do we have too many expectations on ourselves or from others? Do you have anxious thoughts? Or do you feel angry, jealous? Are you feeling resentment towards someone? Are you feeling depressed? Are you having depressive thoughts? Are we having a lack of kindness towards ourselves and self-talk? Are we replaying conversations or interactions and responses over and over and over? That's me. I can't sleep at night sometimes because I'm like, I could have said that differently. Or like, sometimes I'll go back years and it'll just pop in my brain. And I'm like, I'm replaying it and I'm finding myself talking to myself like, why the fuck did I say that? But then I'm like, why am I even going back that far? That person's not thinking about that today.
Where's that coming from? Yeah, exactly.
And that's, you know, probably part of my anxiety. And it definitely is triggered by events and certain people in my life that bring up not great feelings about myself. But those are all things to start thinking about. These are all things that are mind clutter. Can you think of anything else, Kate, that you've experienced that might fall under mind clutter, or even something that I had mentioned?
No, you kind of hit the head on the nail. And I think, the nail on the head. Why did I say it that way?
Well, I don't know. Tell the truth, Kate.
Yeah, mind clutter, man. Mind clutter. No, I definitely have repetitious racing, just mulling over type thoughts. It's always been an issue. I just didn't realize that it was an issue until recently in adulthood. And I think too, like you had said, the positive and the negative. Maybe it's more of dysfunction and functional. What serves us, what doesn't. And just another way of saying it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, anger, resentment, jealousy, I've really, especially this past year, started looking at those. And I'll discuss that a little bit later in the podcast. But taking a hard look as to what about this person is triggering this in me? Where is that triggering coming from? And instead of judging it, just be curious. We'll get more into that. You hit it all. So I was like, dang, what is it called? Rumination. Rumination's a big one for me. So 100%.
Yeah. So a question to start asking yourself is, why do I care what other people are thinking? I'm starting to see like more and more TikToks and stuff online about this of like, oh, I saw this one. It was this guy. He's like, I am late to this birthday party that I'm going to. And I am so late that I'm driving there thinking about calling and not coming, or saying, or calling and lying and say I got in an accident or a flat tire or I'm sick and I can't make it because I'm so worried about what people are going to think of me being late. But he shows up and later he pops back and he's like, yeah, no one cared. No one gave a flying fuck that I was late. And I'm just like,
no one noticed.
And if they did,
yeah,
that is not your problem.
Yeah.
That is not your problem to hold. And I know it's hard and it's not as easy as just letting go. And I hate when books are just let go. It's not as easy as there's work in letting it go. And you have to make a conscious effort for a while before that becomes easier for you. So asking yourself, why do you care?
How does this serve me to hold on to it?
Yeah. How is this serving me? Why am I protecting myself and or my reputation right now? Why do I feel like I have to? I think that a lot about with my job. You know, I do a lot of work with families and family trainings as a collective, like family unit. And it's like, sometimes I'll play back things I said or things I should have said or brought up or forgot to bring up or didn't. And I beat myself up a little bit sometimes and I have to stop. And I'm like, why am I worried about what this looks like on me when I'm doing my best? We are all always learning and we are applying the things we know for the greater good. Hopefully. I know I am. So why am I so worried about having to protect my reputation and the things that I say and my work as a professional? So asking yourself that, why am I trying to convince others of my competence or of my compassion for something? Why do I feel like I have to prove to them that I care?
That's an imposter syndrome type deal. Or even in childhood when like someone made you doubt your experience.
Oh, well, yeah. And we can go there, but listen, that scar's already been opened up just from Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But, you know, and thinking about that too, there are situations that I will never understand. And I will work with families that have been through things or are going through things because they're a different ethnicity than me, or they live in a different area, or they have adopted a child, whatever that might be, that are different than anything that I, as a personal human, has experienced.
Mm-hmm.
But that does not mean I don't have things to offer as a professional.
Yeah.
But I do beat myself up, right? I can say that, but I do.
Yeah.
And then what part of me is upset by this? Kate, you said it great. Asking yourself, what part of this is disturbing me right now? Where is this coming from? Is this mine, or is this not my own?
Yeah. Whose voice is it really?
Yeah. So I dig a little bit deeper into this as we're going to go along here. I kind of plan this out a little bit because I think it's important to delve into the mind clutter and what's causing this clutter to be able to clean it out, to get these cobwebs and all this extra gunk out of there so we can make it clean and safe and lovely. So the first thing is looking at excess. What do you have too much of going on in your mind, in your body, in your space? Spreading ourselves thin looks impressive, but in the end, we are the first to lose. That's a really good quote. Are your thoughts somewhere else? Do you find yourself having conversations with someone or talking and like your mind is completely somewhere different and you look at that person and you're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like I forgot to listen to you. And then you feel guilty because you just like, who knows? They could have been spilling their guts or whatever. Yeah. And like, you know, and you're just like, oh my God, that has happened to me multiple times, especially at work with my client technicians. And I'm just like, I'm so sorry. I heard absolutely nothing of what
you just said. Yeah. I feel like there's whole parts of my life like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That just aren't there because I was not mindful in that era of my life.
Because you have so much going on outside of that situation that you're thinking about or you're worried about or you're sticking to, and you don't need to stick to it. Or even reading a book. Oh my gosh, like my max is like 10 pages because I know if I go past 10 pages in one sitting, like I had no idea what
comprehend any of it. Yeah.
No. Yeah. And I'm a slow reader, and that's okay. I've learned to like accept that about myself and know that about myself. But like, Kate, have you ever like gone through a book and you were like, what the fuck did I just read?
I've had to go back multiple pages and be like, well, I got to start this over again.
Yeah. Do you beat yourself up about that sometimes?
Maybe when I was in school.
Yeah. It can be embarrassing when everyone else is done and you're like, oh shit. Like, I'm either not participating or I got to go back and read this.
Yeah.
So we create this excess of things in our mind and our emotions and our thoughts. We stick to the things we don't need. It overdoes us. We overextend ourselves. It takes us away from ourselves in the moment and being in the moment.
Yes.
And being in the moment, we know is important. People talk about it all the time. It's so hard. I mean, we time travel all the time with our minds. We think about the past and the future all the time, which could be like time travel, really, honestly, if you think about it. And I read a quote once, and I'm not sure how accurate this is. I'm going to preface with that. People who focus too much on past events tend to show more symptoms of depression and sadness.
Oh,
and people who focus too much on the future tend to show more anxious or anxiety type symptoms. I don't know how true that is, but I did hear that, and it makes a lot of sense to me because we're too worried about one or the other to be in the moment and experience peace.
That sounds accurate.
It might be.
And I think too, it's like I don't want to blame society, but the way, at least in our world, I just feel like it is go, 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 go. If you're not busy, if you're not accomplishing, if you're not making money, if you're not buying a house, if you're not getting married, if you're not having kids, if you're not getting a promotion, what are you doing? Like, it's good to have goals and ambition. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. But I remember I used to just beat myself up just for wanting to take a day off. And I ended up in not a good headspace. Burnout was real. And that's because maybe someone in my workplace just didn't have that mindset. So it was like, I adopted it too. And now it's like, I've been working really hard to just be like, it's okay. It's okay to not constantly be doing, constantly be achieving. It's really hard. It becomes like an addiction. All that excess.
Yeah, excess and also it sounds like also holding that responsibility on yourself of like other people and keeping other people on track and other things running. Yeah. And it's like, that is not your job. Why did you put that on your plate? You know, and that comes to people pleaser. It comes to childhood experiences. It comes to how we look for that connection with other people and detaching from that. I mean, it goes deep, and stuff is not easy. And Kait and I are in no way experts at any of this, but we know the way, and we know when we are on this path and we do these things and practice these things and access these things that we do feel better. But doing it long term can be difficult.
Yes.
But as long as we're actively trying, we'll get there. We'll get there. We'll see where we're at in 10 years. But, you know, we're going too fast, too hard, too much, too long. Not just work and life, but like other things that don't bring us any kind of nutritional value in our life. And in our past podcast, I talked about that, the nutrition of life. And this is just not it right now where we're at. And everything becomes dull, and we lose a sense of wonder. We lose a sense of magic in the world.
Or even just contentment.
Oh, for sure.
How many of us would mistake contentment for complacency?
Yeah, you're right.
You know, it's not good. It's not good for our bodies. It's not good for our minds or our soul. It's just, So it takes like practiced effort to continue to kind of be able to take a step back.
Yeah. So what do we do?
What do we do about it?
What do? We separate ourselves from these things, right? Like too much TV, we start looking at this nutrition we're bringing into our ears and our eyes and our mouth and our nose and our body and touch. And is it too much? Is it not enough? Figuring out where's your balance? We need to rest to restore, period. That's collectively. Doesn't matter who you are, if it's overstimulated, understimulated, too much, too fast, whatever it is, we need to rest to restore. That can take a long time.
Yes. Especially when you are in burnout. It'll take a very long time.
Some people can't. They have children they're taking care of. They have businesses they're running. So you have to be mindful and intentional about scheduling that time in your day for yourself.
Yes.
Or at the very least your week.
Yes.
And it being something that you follow strictly. This is my time. I need this time. 30 minutes, an hour, if you can squeeze it in a week.
Imagine what doing that is modeling to if you do have kids. Make it a family affair. Like you all take 10 minutes just to do something that isn't causing noise, isn't making you rush around, and your kids are going to learn that skill that as millennials, like, I don't know, I didn't know what that was. You know, generations before us certainly didn't really know what that was unless their parents knew. And so now you get to model this to these kids and enjoy time together without distraction and feed your soul, whether it's in nature, in a book, in music, if that's calming to you, just something that like feeds your actual senses instead of distracting you from all of the things going on around you.
We have a mutual friend who I know will send us videos sometimes. They have dance parties a lot as a family. And it gives them a moment to connect and be together. And I think, like, you're right. That's so important, finding that connection and being together. But moms and dads, I know you still need like alone time. Like, I get that too.
Mom and dad
so
time.
Maybe you work together and or with family that's helping you with your child. If you have that, if you don't have that, a friend, a coworker that can just come over and just like, you can be in the same house. Just sit with your kid for 30 minutes so you can just go into the bath or go sit outside by yourself.
And just be away. Even though we know you love your kids, everyone needs alone time.
And coming from like, I do not have children yet. And I have a lot of friends that have kids, and coming from a coworker or friend standpoint who is single without children, like I will gladly sit with your child It brings me
Oh,
joy to
absolutely.
sit with children. I work with children. I love children so much. So don't ever feel like you're burdening anybody. Like, I thrive in that opportunity.
Mm-mm.
Is it exhausting sometimes? Absolutely. You know better than we do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I would do that in a heartbeat. No questions asked.
Yeah.
So finding that rest for yourself, other options that you can do that help kind of bring you to a more stable place, massage, finding a creative flow and some kind of outlet for yourself with creativity, painting, music, photography.
Yeah. Yeah. A walk outside, I don't know if you said that. There's so many things, your own figuring out what your hobbies are and then do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Dancing, playing an instrument, learning a new instrument.
Yeah. Crocheting, knitting, sewing, anything.
Yeah, canoeing, kayaking,
Crafting,
rock
yeah.
climbing, canyoneering.
Yeah.
Like, it's endless. Yoga, like anything can be a hobby. It doesn't have to be a craft.
No.
So I have another quote. Being an audience of the divine mystery begins to shift us out of clock time. This comes back to, and we'll have another podcast about being a master time manipulator.
Yeah.
I'll say it one more time. Being an audience of the divine mystery begins to shift us out of clock time. In other words, being present in the moment, in nature, helps us control time better in our life. And what the hell's with time? Who put us on a time frame, by the way? We're like, there's not enough hours in the day. Why do we have to have hours in a day?
Yeah.
Have you ever had like a vacation day or a stay-at-home day where you just sit at home and you're like, you don't look at the clock hardly at all that day? And you're like, man, today felt long and beautiful.
Yeah. I think time started changing for me this past summer. Like, time is very different for me now in a good way. It's very strange, but it's amazing at the same time.
When you slow down and you are intentional about your day and you don't just sit around scrolling or watching movies and TV or working yourself to death.
That's it.
Your day is lengthened and you go to bed like,
wow, I'm not on someone else's schedule, what they think a day should look like.
And here's the thing, we're all on that time. Why?
I don't get it.
My big question for the universe, why?
Well, to keep us in this state, right? To keep us disorganized, to keep us diseased. Yep. Yeah, that's what I think it is.
So becoming a master time manipulator can really change your life. It's a lot of work and we're still I know I'm still working on it. I know Kate's just now experiencing it some, it sounds like, this year. So that'll be something we talk about more, but slowing down, it really, really changes everything. And if that means finding a new job, that's what the fuck it means, man. Like, I have changed jobs myself. And honestly, I have slowed down a lot. Do I have other stressors because of that? Yes. But is it worth it? Hell yeah, it's worth it. Hell yeah.
So worth it.
Hell yeah.
I agree.
So I just wanted to go there for a second because I have a lot of feelings about time right now, especially now that I am learning to appreciate it more and really sit with it. But
time is a gift, even though it's cliche to say that.
Yeah. Know what's enough for you. Take breaks when you need breaks and understand how your body's communicating with you. If you have indigestion every time after lunch because you only have a 30-minute lunch break, something to note when you look for a new job.
If you see someone's number calling you on your phone, and your stomach drops, or someone's coming over, your body's trying to tell you something.
Yeah. Your body is
you have to do something. It's telling you, like,
Obviously, there's some things we can't get rid of. Like, I know it doesn't matter the job. Even if I enjoy it, there are some days where I wake up and I'm like, ugh, not today.
I don't want to do this. Yeah.
But
I agree.
But if you're in a situation where you're like so stressed out every morning and you're stressed out because you're not going to be able to get your job done in the time that's given, and you have 30-minute lunch break and you're going to have indigestion, and then you're going to eat and you're going to snack and then feel like crap and then not want to go to the gym, like, find a new job. I'm not telling you to quit your job. Please just be mindful. But rethink about your life. You are never stuck. You are never stuck. Find better for you.
Yeah. And it might take time. It might not happen overnight. I was in the same boat with Katie. I went on my, maybe we'll talk about it in the future, but ended up having to go a different way with employment. And man, what a difference. What a freaking difference. And it was not pretty. It was not easy. I didn't have a huge savings to go and do the change. But I think once you kind of at least know what you don't want, you can start inviting in what you do want, even if it takes a little bit. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, you're right. And other ways to think about. So think about cleansing your body too. We talk about your body talking to you and communicating with you. Exercise, water, fasting, if that works for you. If that doesn't work for you, don't do it.
Yeah.
Cleaning your space, cleaning your mind, cleaning your whatever. Yes days or rules. Not going to's today. So what I mean by that is yes days, I think we all have a good idea of what a yes day is. You kind of say yes to everything. I don't like that because who knows what comes up. But if that works for you, do a yes day or create a rule for that day. So what I mean by not going to is today's rule. Today I am not going to say blank. Today I am not going to eat, drink, do blank.
Yeah.
That's kind of in a way fasting yourself from something. Today I am not going to come home from work and watch television immediately.
Yeah.
Today,
be mindful and do something else. Yeah.
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 Or today I'm going to walk.
Yeah. And exercise, meditation, mindfulness, correct diet, all increase your body's tolerance to get through and accept quote unquote stress. And stress can be good and bad stressors, right? But it increases your tolerance to get through those hard moments, and it helps just empty out the bucket of life things. So instead of it being completely full and overflowing with stress, guess what? If you do each of those things, it helps to empty it out maybe a fourth to a half. So like Katie said, when you have to do something you don't necessarily want to, it doesn't become this huge burden. When your kids are screaming and yelling, your first action isn't to yell back. You have more patience. You have more motivation to do the things that you need to do when you practice this kind of thing. But you have to make it your own. So
exactly. Try the things, find out what works and do it. You have to put in the work. This is part of the work. You can also purify. So I talked about cleansing. Cleansing is to kind of clean out, get rid of the gunk. Purify is to keep it clean. Breath work, posture. Those are things that we talk about in yoga, but can be part of every day. Think about how you're sitting when you're sitting or standing when you're standing. Where are you holding tension? Where are you holding your weight? Taking those breath breaks. Great for parents. Great for me when I'm in the car, especially if I'm going somewhere that I know is going to be hard. Taking deep breaths. And there's different ways to breathe. You can breathe quickly. You can do a slow breath in and a long breath out. You can do retention, holding it in. So,
yeah, I like the breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 8.
Yeah,
that's a really good one.
You have something that works for you.
Yeah.
Finding those there's different ways to breathe. I mean, it's crazy. I read a whole book on just breathing and it blew my mind. But I was like, I got to the end. I was like, oh my God, how many ways is there to breathe? Because this is ridiculous. But there's a million. And then bring yourself into the present moment without pressure. Feel the feels. Notice the things. Notice. Be the witness. Don't sit with it. And, you know, when we're safe with ourselves, we can be safe for others. And that in the moment, if you need to take a deep breath before responding, that's what you do. If that offends somebody else, is that your problem? No, because you're doing what you need to do to respond appropriately. And if they're upset about that, then they have their own thing they need to work through. So one quick story I wanted to put in there, and it's very short, to kind of get the brain moving about this, is something called something called Let Go of the Banana. There's a monkey catching story in some of the yoga. The way they catch monkeys is by having a banana in a cage. And the way the cage is built is so the banana actually can't fit through the cage bars. The monkey comes up to the cage and goes to grab the banana, and the banana won't fit through the cage. And the individual catching the monkeys is walking to the cage to catch the monkey, and the monkey does not run away. The monkey does not let go of the banana, and they're able to catch the monkey. So that is such an interesting like story, and that's just my general like outline of how the story goes. But the monkey was never in the cage. The monkey was never caged. The monkey was never stuck. It could have let go of the banana and left, but the monkey refused to let go of the banana, so it was caught. And that kind of brings us into choosing freedom for ourselves.
Yeah. It's like the devil card in tarot.
Yeah. Instead of holding on to the things that we don't need because it's trapping us.
Yeah. Yeah. Devil card in tarot is all about vices, addiction. You could take the chains off and walk right up the hill and be happier, or even the Eight of Swords, self-imprisonment.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of times we build our own prisons. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I may not have told the story the best, but if you're interested, we can post the story. But I just thought that was really good for excess. We don't need it. Let it go for yourself.
Nope.
And then I have kind of our next topic of fear. Fear is kind of the devil in charge of a lot of our negative feelings. A lot of, here I go with negative again, but with a lot of feelings that are dysfunctional or not functional or keeping us from growth. Things like abandonment, judgment, failure, deceit, loneliness, grief. Those are just some examples. What are you afraid of? I had to do a lot of reflecting here to figure out in those moments of what is coming up for me in this moment that I'm reacting to. How, like, what is it that I'm feeling? And fear comes up every single time. It can be, fear can sometimes feel safe. And it doesn't allow us to seek out others and experience new things or things that we're afraid might hurt us.
Yeah.
It keeps us safe, keeps us from doing the things that could potentially be scary.
Yeah.
It creates self-doubt, self-loathing, lack of kindness to yourself, sometimes lack of kindness to others. Fear is the root of a lot of these bad things.
Yeah, it is. It is, because it's predictable. If you're afraid of connection and then you just avoid it, at least you know what you're getting.
If you're afraid of getting hurt, you avoid it.
Yeah.
If you're afraid of being judged, you avoid it. And now you're not experiencing it. Now you get stuck. You get stuck.
Yeah.
Back to that quote I mentioned before, feel the fear and take action anyway. Take action anyway. Combat fear with courage, kindness, compassion, knowledge, gaining competence in something, experience with something, practice, mentorship. All of those things can squash fear. Because what's keeping us, I don't want to try that. I've never done that before. I don't want to try that. I'm not competent.
Yes.
Go figure it out. Go learn about it.
It's by trying that you become competent.
Yeah.
And you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah, everyone does. We all make mistakes, and we're constantly going to make mistakes because we're never going to be perfect at everything. Nobody. Period.
Yeah.
And you have to start somewhere.
Yeah. And those that give you a hard time or punish you for mistakes, that is coming from their own wounding around success, mistake making, failure. It's hard to know that, though, when we're kids, because a lot of that, I think, happens in childhood. You know what I mean? So
definitely.
We develop these complexes.
We pack it in our backpack, in our suitcase, and we carry it around in that mind clutter.
Yeah, right into adulthood.
Shake my head.
Yeah.
So increase your balance with quiet listening. Listen to yourself, reflect inside, figure out where these feelings are coming from, where are they rooted from. and start to unpack.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do I need to feel more competent to handle this?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And fear isn't necessarily a bad thing. I've worked, and the course I've taken is making friends with my fear. I have a fear monster, and she's really ugly. She is not pleasant. But fear is hardwired into our DNA. It's a very useful tool because guess what? It keeps us alive. So, for example, you touching a hot stove as a child, and maybe your parent yelled at you or you burned yourself. Either one, guess what? It was a learning tool. So now we don't put our hands on hot stoves and have third-degree burns, right? So that's in our memory bank. Record it for all time. It's very, very useful. It's when that fear center or our amygdala, which is located in our brain, is a very small structure, but it is super duper powerful because it can trigger a whole cascade of hormonal and neurotransmitter release. So, like our adrenaline, right? It gets our heart pumping. Cortisol, which helps us which helps us react to stress. But long term, it can be very, very detrimental to our health. So when we are ruled by that tiny little structure, it can really mess with us, and it can put us in a state of feeling threatened when there is no threat. The tiger isn't there chasing us. It's maybe our boss, maybe it's our parents, and some of those are long term when, you have parents that you live with until you're however many years old. So our bodies get stuck in the state of sympathetic response, and that can lead to, like I said, heightened cortisol levels, inappropriate flooding of adrenaline, panic disorders, anxiety, sensitivity to sound, light, constant overstimulation. We can get stuck in freeze, fawn, flight, or fight mode. And then that can lead to chronic disease and inflammation. So we are finding it is incredibly important to start managing our stress levels, managing our fear, combat it, like Katie said, with mindfulness, with curiosity, with non-judgment, with love. Because at the end of the day, it's just your mind trying to keep you safe. It's just become a little oversensitive. It's just has become a little non-functional for our day-to-day lives. And I kind of wanted to go over the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, all that stuff in case someone listening doesn't know what those mean. So fight is, for example, we take a stand and react in an aggressive way to someone maybe coming at us, yelling, arguing, physically fighting if someone's coming to attack us. That is important. If someone's coming to harm us, it's a probably good thing at times to stand and fight. Flight, very important. We run. So you could physically walk away or run from a threat. It can also look like avoiding confrontation. Whenever you feel like someone wants to start a fight, you're like, I can't do this, and you walk away. Sometimes that can be very useful. When it becomes not useful is when you're in a relationship that you want to have long term and you can't handle a confrontation, or and that can be romantic or friendship.
And to combat that, in a relationship standpoint, is you have to talk to each other and figure out where each other is and what each other needs in those moments of contention. And it might not be the same.
No.
And finding a compromise until you can grow to be better, because you can't just expect someone to be there 100% from the get-go. It's hard.
Yeah, it's very hard. Freeze. So that's when your system shuts down. So that can look like dissociation, derealization, sleep, and depression. So dissociation is when, I'm
a big freezer.
Like that too. So dissociation is when you feel almost kind of like out of body. You disconnect, that's the best way I can.
That's perfect.
It's like, it is. Yeah. It's an out of body experience. Definitely not pleasant or fun. Derealization is when you feel like things around you are not real, which is also very, very scary. And there are some people that are stuck in that for years. So useful. Sometimes it is useful if you're being attacked, and it could mean your life to fight back, and you don't have the tools necessarily to physically fight someone back. To just freeze is very, very appropriate. So there's no shame. Fawn. That looks more like you people please or try to smooth things over. You kind of be a chameleon to fit whatever the situation calls for. And you'll do anything to make the other person happy. Again, in some situations, say a hostage situation, probably a very good idea to fawn and to like aggrandize yourself and engage with that person in a way that like makes them happy, right? But when it comes to long-term healthy relationships, constantly agreeing with someone, negating all of your needs, again, is not good. And then that means we have to now return to alignment of what our needs are. And that's where mindfulness and meditation can help you delve into what those needs are and to realize some of those things, to process some of the trauma that you may have experienced that has now caused you to veer off from what it is you need. So these can all be appropriate at the right times, but when you're constantly, like I said, out of alignment of your own needs, they can become what we call pathological. So they are not functional, they are not helpful. Therapy, somatic exercises like the breathing we talked about, emotional freedom technique, which we did a tapping, one of the podcasts, meditation, like we're talking about and going to talk about more. And also sometimes just removing yourself when you are able from the environment that your stressor is constantly in. So sometimes that looks like, yep, leaving your parents' home, leaving your ex's home, like whatever that
leaving
looks
the
like.
kitchen and coming back.
Yes, taking a breath, leaving the room, coming back later so you don't, explode. So those are all very important things. And sometimes making friends with your fear can be very difficult. But I found since I've adopted more of a curious mindset around my fear, I understand it more and I can kind of anticipate now how it's going to operate. And it's no longer like a surprise when I get struck with anxiety or panic. And I can get it under control and manage it much more effectively than when I was trying to fight my fear. Because my fear is valid. All my fear is trying to do is keep me alive. So I had to be compassionate and show it love. What did it need? What is it trying to tell me, like Katie has said?
Yeah. Speaking of love, my next and third point is self-love, actually. And we touched on that a little bit, and we won't sit with that too long, but thinking about how you love yourself. A lot of times in society right now, we look at how we treat others as a reflection of how we treat ourselves.
Yeah.
But really, we really should sometimes, in addition to that, flip-flop that and look at it the other way and begin to look at how am I treating myself, because that's a true reflection in how we treat others. It's not this is who I am or the person I am because this is how I treat other people. It's this is the person I am because this is how I treat myself. Thus, this is how I treat other people as well.
Exactly.
The answer is
self-love is self-absorbed and like conceited, which is sad.
Sometimes, or people will look at someone like that and be like, wow, they have a big head.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Doctor complex. Right?
Yeah. But she's really high on herself.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody's got to be. Doesn't mean you need to be cocky. Doesn't mean you're conceited and you don't care about anybody else. But who's going to love you best? It's not someone else. It's you.
Yeah, get to know yourself.
You're the answer to a lot of your problems, sadly, but amazingly at the same time. Because it's hard. It's hard when you haven't had models of what self-love is. Most of us, honestly, I remember a book I read, Learned Optimism. All of us learn self-love patterns mostly from our mothers. Mom has a huge influence in how we talk to ourselves and look at ourselves. So your kids are watching.
What about people who don't have mothers?
Then it would be their primary caretaker. But when you're having a two parent and one of them is mom, it's usually the mom. So,
or a maternal role, maybe even.
A maternal role, yeah, you could say that. Maternal people of both genders, of any gender and any expression, can be maternal and or feminine, or however we want to quantify that.
Yeah.
Self-love is also that we see light and dark. We see ourselves as an entire complex being. We're not all good. We're not all quote unquote bad. And I think when we can do that, we can show love, like Katie said, to others more deeply because we're willing to go there with ourselves. If you're never willing to even cry with yourself, how the heck are you going to be able to support someone else who's crying in front of you? You're going to feel very uncomfortable and you're not really going to be able to witness, like we talked about last time. Um, I wanted to bring up shadow work because shadow work has become such a hot topic, especially in the TikTok sphere. The shadow work journal is out there, which is all well and good. But I think it also means it's been kind of watered down and made a commodity that we can buy. So, like that
Interesting.
journal. Yeah, if we can commodify something, we're going to do it, right? It's America. While this is all well and good, like journaling is very helpful. Shadow work means that we actively make changes. We don't just talk about it. We don't just journal about it. We do it. We go out there in the
Yeah.
world and try to see our triggering, try to see how our triggered parts interact with someone else's triggered parts.
Something that I've done that has helped me do that with journal, because I've journaled for many years,
Yeah.
is I'll see this pattern as well when I look way back, even from the beginning without even intentionally doing it. When you go to
Yeah.
journal some of these darker parts, even light parts, but especially those darker parts,
Yeah.
following up that journal either the next day or later
Mm-hmm.
that day, or even immediately if you have the energy for it, sometimes not. But following that up, your next journal entry being short term reachable goals or ambitions that you have for yourself to not fall back into that pattern of that
Yeah.
thought.
That's
I would
powerful.
be like, oh, I would write and I would have this whole excerpt about how, and I'm going to get a little bit raw for a second. I'm really depressed. I'm thinking about some trauma or whatever. I haven't
Yeah.
had those types of thoughts in a very long time, thank goodness. But there was a time where I was. And my
Yeah.
next journal entry was, how can I feel better about myself? And then it would be like, who am I? What do I like about myself today? And
Mm-hmm.
or what can I do next time that makes me feel good? Whether
Yeah.
that is a type of drink that I really like that energizes me, like a smoothie, or an exercise of some kind, or I'm going to take this class and learn about this or that. So to
Yeah.
me, that's an important distinction to make in those types of journalings.
Yeah. I love that because I don't really journal. So I'm glad Katie told us about that because I think it's really important to have tips and tricks of how to make lasting change. And I think when you're doing and whatever your shadow work looks like, whether it's journaling, I like to speak, so I record a lot of my stuff. It means that we're looking at the darker parts of our psyche and then we work to make those things, hopefully, use those things potentially for good. And also, like I said, know when those things are being triggered, those parts of ourselves, and then ask about it. Ask about it. When you meet with someone who's triggering you, first acknowledge, yeah, you're triggering me. Great. We've established that. And then we get curious. Why? Why am I being triggered? And maybe thoughts from when you were a child pop up with how your parents dealt with certain things, or your friends, schoolmates, siblings. It's coming from somewhere. What about this situation makes me feel uncomfortable? Is it because I am negating my needs for someone else's? Is it because I'm ultimately lying about who I am by not voicing my opinion? Is it because I don't feel heard or seen? And I don't like that ultimately. Is it my own projection, their own projection, or both? Because
Mm,
guess what, baby? We all project. We all project.
yeah.
Nobody is innocent of that, and that's okay.
The
Am I
good old
going?
ego.
Yes, that ego loves it. And then am I going to continue to complain about the situation or person, or will I actually have an honest conversation about what is going on so we can move forward? Should I potentially pursue therapy to work through some of these issues? Those are good questions too.
Mhm.
I've really started to take it upon myself to have hard conversations. It is very, very uncomfortable. But guess what? I get through my stuff so much quicker now that I'm not just being like, well, it's okay. And then it boils inside for the next 2 years, right? And
Some
it's
people
not
are not
pleasant.
approachable though. Like there's no way, I'm thinking of a certain individual in my life that I
I know.
could go to and be open about these kinds of things without it being cut off. So at that point, it's not, at that point, it's not about getting something from that other person. It has to be about you learning to protect yourself, separating your feelings from that person's actions and words, and figuring out what is the root, where did this start? And how can I no longer allow this person to control my feelings? And honestly, the less control they have, the more they come at you. So then it's really protecting your space and being mindful of how much time you're spending with that person, regardless of how important they are to you in your life.
And making that distinction is a hard line. Because I have people in my life, like I said, that I've been able to approach and have honest conversations. And there's people in my life that I'm thinking of right now.
Because
it's not that I can't. I've already tried. I've honestly tried. And it just is a circular argument. So then that's when you need to make the protection. But I've also heard, and this may work for some people, you never have to show the person it, but you could, if you're in a situation like we're describing, you could write a letter to them that you never send and just get it out all on paper. I go more the route of yelling, going to like a rage room, or like literally talking to an empty chair. And just letting the tears flow.
My therapist is my outlet, to be honest.
Yeah, my therapist as well.
And coming back, like, I want to correct myself saying, like, you can't. You can, you have, you will, you can, you did, you, whatever that might be. It's not that they can't, it's that they won't. So it's not you can, it's they won't. They won't. And that's just where they're on their path. That's not a reflection of you.
And then you have to act accordingly. Yeah. Protect yourself then. There's nothing wrong with that.
But that goes to my quote, leave other people free from our needs, free to be themselves, and free to see us as they choose to. So that's self-love, everybody. It's hard work, and that's just some of it. Self-love, there's a lot to do there, but that helps a lot. The next kind of part that I want to mention really quick is sorting it all out. So unpacking your suitcase or your backpack, or all kind of our ways of saying our mind. Is it full? Is what I have useful? Is it needed? What am I holding on to or clinging to that I do not need or does not serve me? The fewer attachments we carry with us, the more we live every moment before us to the fullest. So make space. We create rest by allowing space that we can breathe in, creating that space in ourselves, the more space to reflect, to journal, for closure, for imagination and creativity. Feel the calling of the life force within us. Life force meaning just the energy that runs through our bodies. It's individual and it is unique to you. So balance comes from listening to the guidance and wisdom of your inner voice, your sense of knowing, your gut, your body, your thoughts. Stay quiet and listen. And that can be scary for some people. Some people don't want to go inside because they have been through some hard things. I think a lot about, I think a lot about our soldiers, things they've gone through and experienced.
And they're very alone sometimes.
Sexual abuse.
Physical abuse.
Sexual exploitation.
Emotional trauma. Long list.
All those things. It can be a nasty thing to look at going inside. That's why you have to clean it up and make it a safe space for you to be. Accept the fullness of human expression. We are spirit living a human experience. People need a safe space to hear themselves. People want to listen to themselves. So create that safe space for yourself so you can listen. A quote kind of to reflect on that a little bit. The river is only carrying the pollution. The river itself is pure. The same goes for your spirit. The same goes for your spirit and your soul and your inner core self. We simply carry things like our thoughts and beliefs and stories, but that is not who we are. So figure out who you are. So we'll get into, I guess, some meditation now. So all of that was building up for then now what? How do we practice this? So we talked about a lot of cleaning up, looking at excess, looking at self-love, looking at fear and kind of the roots of where this clutter is coming from that's keeping us from quieting our mind. So it's not that you can't quiet your mind. it might be hard to quiet your mind because of all of those things we just talked about, but it is possible. So let's do some spring cleaning, some fall cleaning, and then let's jump in and do some practice work.
Yeah.
So long term, Kate and I mentioned multiple times, journaling. If you're into writing or typing or something like that, therapy is another huge one. 100% works for most people. I can't say it works for everyone because I get it. Shop around though, because just because you sit down with a therapist doesn't mean it's going to work out.
Yes.
Find a therapist that works for you. If it doesn't work,
get out there and try someone. Yeah.
It can be an exhausting experience at first. I was definitely like anti-therapy for actually quite a few years because I had a terrible experience with my first therapist after I experienced trauma. I felt very judged and uncomfortable, but I tried it again and I landed a great one. So you have to try and shop around, find someone not that agrees with you or makes you comfortable, one that might make you feel a little uncomfortable, but that makes you feel safe.
Yes.
Safe is the big thing. If you feel safe, but maybe a little uncomfortable because they touch on things that are hard, that's not a reason to find someone else.
No, that's a reason to stay.
Work through your shit.
Just do it.
Yeah.
We'll be ready.
Breath work, we talked about that several times already too. Counting, slow breathing. I went through a couple different types of inhales and exhales you can do. There's box breathing, circular breathing, all kinds of things. Look it up. I'm telling you, there's a lot of breath work stuff out there. There's books about it.
Yes.
Crazy. We could even have a podcast episode about breathing if it's something that you guys are all interested in.
Yeah, leave us feedback.
We definitely will talk about meditation more in depth. I know Kate touched on the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. There's a lot of research out there, and I'd love to share that. So we'll have another episode specifically on the research behind meditation. Tune into your senses: sight, smell, sound, touch, taste, admire nature, art, architecture, contemplate and be thankful. Find gratitude in your day, not just Thanksgiving Day. Thank you, hands who laid this concrete to build my path that I am walking on through this nature. It sounds silly, but it feels good and you don't have to say it out loud. It feels good to have these thoughts, and because you start to recognize how those things got there in the first place. Yeah. If you're unable to tune in, try a different sense. Play with your senses while you're out. See which ones you're picking up on. Smell the flowers. Smell the rain if it starts to rain. The cold breeze before a snow. Oh, it's so good.
So good.
I love that feeling. And not everyone's into the coldness, but something about that crisp, cold air that slams my face before it snows. I love it.
I like feeling right after rainfall. It's kind of humid and it's like fresh. Like things have just washed away.
Yeah. And you can find scents that are reminiscent of that in lots of different house sprays, scents and candles, soaps, things like that. If it's not pleasant to you, try a different sense. Listen to sounds around you. If that's not pleasant to you, try headphones. Try sitting in your car. Plug your ears while humming. Find a humming sound that you like. Practice humming, right? Finding silence. Yeah, there's a little bit about humming too. Like when we, like, kind of like the history of the Om.
Yes.
Om is said to be the sound of God, and or the sound of, so God meaning maybe not Jesus, maybe not a God, but the universal spirit. If there was no sound on the planet of Earth, the theory is Om would be the sound that we would hear, kind of like a buzz. So when we create a with our voice, even if we're cracky, it really creates something pretty relaxing. It's kind of crazy. You get stuck in the rotation. It's like a circular motion, but practice that and close your ears. It makes it more intense. It's really interesting.
It
so
regulates
something
that nervous system. Yeah.
You know, again, if you don't like that, it's not pleasant to you, try something else.
Yes.
Notice other sounds that are happening of nature. Focus on a certain sound or tune that you like. So using a singing bowl or a guitar or something, find one note that you really love and just play it and let it hum. Play it and let it hum and just sit with it.
Bilateral stimulation. So binaural beats are great as well. Just tapping bilateral stimulation on both one hand on one knee, one hand on the other, alternating. Those are also kind of a rhythmic thing that you can do to bring down your nervous system.
I want to try that. I've not tried that.
Well, we'll talk about it. We can do butterfly hug.
Ooh,
Butterfly hug is awesome.
That.
Yeah.
Another sense of touch, finding a stone or pebble that fits your thumb or hand just perfectly, like just right for you. Have you ever experienced that, Kate?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I still rock
and
that.
You don't even have to look at it. You can just like move your fingers along it, and you're like, we have become one, and you are coming home with me.
You are my rock. Yeah.
Like you were, like my thumb made you. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
And that happens to me sometimes at the store, but most often I do it when I find that when I'm at a natural river or something like that. And, you know, be grateful and be thankful for what the earth has provided to you. And this is something I'll get into another time probably, but you are borrowing these things from the earth. It does not belong to us. It does not belong to you. If you take that pebble from that river, it belongs to the river. It belongs to the earth. We are temporary beings on this planet. So treat it with respect. There are ritual practices where you can offer something in return or return the thing that you borrowed. But we'll get into that another time, but I just wanted to mention that briefly. But you can also use things like a certain keychain or a piece of jewelry that you really like. You can gently massage or rub between your fingers, grasp your palm, place it onto your chest or stomach for heart and gut. You can place your hands onto your lap. You can move circular motions. You know, you can do your knees, whatever that is, that touch sensation that you need. There's all kinds of fidget toys out there too that I think kind of come a little bit from this concept, but it's less for managing distraction in the moment and more for being present in the moment. So if you are doing that, I would urge you to focus specifically on that sensation. Any of these things, and I'll get into taste in a second, but any of these things, close your eyes when you do it because it just lessens the distractions and the input that your brain's processing. With taste, slow down, bring awareness to how you're tasting your food, your snacks, your drink. Be aware of what you like about it, the sensations that are happening on your tongue or in your mouth. Be mindful eating.
So I kind of have been exploring it. I can't say that I'm a pro, but my therapist discussed it because sustenance and eating is a huge sticking point for me among a lot of other people. And it can be as simple as the next time you sit down to do a snack or a meal, just admire the color first of the meal. Just look at the color. If there's vibrant colors, even intentionally pick a meal that's going to have many vibrant colors. One, because it's going to be most likely good for you, unless it's like a bowl of M&Ms, then it's just going to be fun. But look at all those vibrant colors, right? Then you eat. Explore the texture of the food in your mouth. Is it soft? Is it ridged? Flavors. Is it salty? Is it sweet? And then we have to express thankfulness that you are able to take in sustenance and that it is fueling your body to go about your day.
All those things are actually small portions of meditation, prerequisites, if you will.
Mindfulness.
But those practices within themselves can be a type of meditation for you. Meditation does not have to be sitting down with your eyes closed and experiencing nothingness. That is hard for even the experienced of us. I've meditated a very long time. Sometimes I have that. Most of the time I do not. It is an active process to work on quieting your mind. But meditation as a specific practice, we can talk in a little bit more about outside of those things, of how else can you meditate to meditate. So mindfulness and awareness we talked about before, and now we're talking about the physical practice of meditation. It's just one type of practice. There are many different practices out there for relaxation, to restore the body, to quiet the mind. This is just one. It is a preferred one, and there's a lot of research on meditation itself, not necessarily alternatives. Alternatives can be things like dance, movement therapy, art therapy, I can't think of any off the top of my head right now, but we can get into that another time if we need to.
Music therapy.
So music.
Yeah.
Meditation is kind of a self-study. It teaches us to grow our ability to witness ourselves and become more in tune with our actual witness and not our ego. Our ego is that being in our side of ourselves that's I, me, mine, which is, it's not a bad thing, but it makes life's experiences personal by attaching to memories and experiences and objects. That's what makes us human. It is very difficult to get rid of the ego. And I'm not sure anyone has ever successfully done that. There are gurus out there that have been close, perhaps, but it is a part of our human experience. And don't look at ego as a bad thing.
I don't think I'd want to get rid of my ego, to be honest. My sense of self, at least. Would I like to detach maybe more from the things that people do and not make it about me? Yes. But I still want to be me.
Right.
On this track, at least, in this lifetime, I like being me.
Yeah, I like being me too. I like the human experience. That's why we're here. Recognizing our beliefs, recognizing what we do, what we don't do. Being a witness helps us identify with the universal spirit, with God, with the idea of oneness for all, bringing us closer to our true identity and purpose in this world as one collective universal spirit. Not everyone wants to believe that. Not everyone does, and that's okay. You don't have to believe in a universal spirit, but just know the ego doesn't have to be a bad thing. The ego is what gives us our life experiences. However, that can bring a lot of the things that we experience that we don't like, and some of the hardships that we face individually with self-love and excess and all the things we talked about before. So being a witness is different from that, because being a witness is part of what Kait and I have practiced too. What part of this is bothering me and where is it coming from? I'm witnessing that I'm feeling this way. I'm witnessing that because of some other person's actions or words or things that happened, I felt this way, but they didn't make me feel this way. I'm feeling this way because of that. How do I separate myself? So that's becoming your witness. Active ingredients in meditation includes interoceptive self-awareness, so focusing inward, focusing on what's happening internally with physically or with thoughts or feeling, using breathing techniques, your heartbeat or heart rate, focusing on a single point, like a candle or an item or thing. Having self-compassion for yourself, suppressed emotions, pain, memory, and other negative thoughts come up. Negative thoughts, again, coming back to that word, thoughts about ourselves that we necessarily don't like, or thoughts about ourselves where we're using not very nice words or nice conversation about ourselves. Release those and use breathing as a technique to do that. So where and how do we meditate? Again, this is all brief. We'll get deep into this another time, but we can meditate anywhere. We can literally meditate anywhere, in your car, in your house, at work. Create a sacred space or sanctuary if you want to, but you do not have to. It's preferable, especially if it's hard for you at first, because it helps you kind of quiet and lessen the distractions and control for that, but it's not needed. You can have a place to sit quietly on a couch with your blanket, maybe a quieter space at work, outside in your car, on a picnic table, whatever that might be. If you enjoy music or silence, that doesn't matter. Some people like guided meditation. Some people like to just breathe and focus on their breath. You can use scents like incense and essential oils and fresh air. Our body likes routine. Us as humans typically like routine. So when you start creating a routine of a certain scent during relaxation, that scent alone becomes linked to that. I mean, let's go back to Pavlov's dogs, right? We're stimulus pairing that smell to that feeling of relaxation to now when I have that smell, I feel relaxed. I don't even have to do the work sometimes. Yeah. So creating routines, having props to make yourself comfortable if you need it. Sit, lay, recline, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. What matters is that you're comfortable. When we practice meditation in a specific environment, that environment then becomes conditioned to elicit the meditative state. Same thing as I just said with the scent. If you have a
Exactly.
sacred space or a space that you set specifically for meditation, when you enter that space, your body, your stress response system starts reacting differently to that space. You start relaxing without even trying, but that takes repetitive practice
Exactly.
and routine.
You have to do it when you are not triggered. And like Katie said, meditation does not have to look like sitting quietly. I meditate during exercise. I set the intention sometimes to literally meditate and work through things when I'm having a workout. So whether I'm going for a walk, a run, doing boxing, whatever that looks like, and you're moving your body, you're releasing excess cortisol, you're releasing excess adrenaline, you're like burning it off. So that will get you into a more zen space. So I think it's like important to know meditation can look like cleaning your home. Katie mentioned purifying, cleansing. I meditate a lot when I'm cleaning. Sometimes I rage clean or anxiety clean. And I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I have come to amazing realizations as I'm using my Swiffer duster on my walls and my pictures and all that kind of stuff. So I think
Love that for
sometimes
you.
some of us are somatic meditators. Some of us are somatic processors. That's how that's how I process my feelings by moving my body. And sometimes we forget or we don't or we don't maybe operate that way. So we think, or we've been told that we got to sit and be no thoughts. It's more of just acknowledging that you actually have thoughts. And I say, I watch them as clouds passing in the sky, as ships passing in
Mm-hmm.
the night. Like I'm looking at it without any judgment. And that, wow, these are just my thoughts. My brain's really working hard to make me feel safe right now. It's trying to think of all of the possibilities. What happened? At first, it would feel awful. Now I'm just like, that's interesting, brain. Thanks so much for like working hard, but I'm good. Like, I do not need to engage with this whirlwind that we sometimes go into.
Mm-hmm. And to differentiate between like that mindfulness
Mm-hmm.
and that meditation piece is in meditation, you're specifically not detaching to the thought, or you are
Yes.
specifically not attaching to those thoughts. You're detaching
Mm-hmm.
from those thoughts. So, Kate, I picture you dusting.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of interesting because it's like you're dusting the outside and the inside at the same time.
Yeah.
You're dusting and you're like, that's interesting. Then I felt that way, and you're letting it go.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Exactly.
interesting. Thank you, brain, for working so hard. Let it go. Passing clouds by. That is
Mm-hmm.
meditation. It is active, not even active, passive release of your attachment to the thoughts and the things that are going
Mm-hmm.
on. I mean,
Yes.
that was such
I'm
a great example.
you're bypassing your conscious mind, so you can't rationalize it. You can't logic your way out of it. Anxiety is not like that. To move past anxiety, you cannot logic your way out of anxiety. Sometimes it's just feeling it, knowing it's not going to kill you. Haven't died yet from a panic attack. They are not pleasant. And I know tomorrow might be better. I know tomorrow the
Mhm.
panic attack may never happen, or it might be a lot less. Anxiety is just a coping mechanism. Your body is just trying to keep you safe. And when you stop trying to fix yourself, quote unquote, out of anxiety or depression or whatever we're talking about,
Mhm.
that's when healing happens because the racing thoughts are just a way of processing what has happened. And sometimes it's a result of severe trauma,
Mhm.
abuse. And trauma just doesn't come from being in war or being in a situation that's life threatening. It can come from an unstable family atmosphere, lack of resources, safety, or pre-verbal trauma as an infant, like I talked about with
Exactly.
adoption, or
Mhm.
NICU preemie babies. Sometimes you don't even know. And by bypassing the logic mind, you can access this whole other center in your brain and let it go much easily. So
Yeah.
it's super powerful.
Yeah. And when can you practice meditation? Literally at any point, as often as possible, as long
Yeah.
as it suits you. Don't focus on pushing yourself to that 30-minute mark. If you're
No.
in 15 minutes and you find that you've had some point of relaxation and now you just can't get back on track, you're done. That's
Yeah.
okay. Today I have 2 minutes, tomorrow maybe an hour.
Exactly.
Follow your body. It is up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to and tune in to you. The more regular practice that you have, the more you build
Mm-hmm.
up the stamina of doing it for longer periods of time and being more silent for longer periods of time. So start small and simple and grow over time. Just like with
Yes.
physical exercise and doing different types of there's all kinds of exercises out there, exercise programs. Mental exercise delivers exactly what you practice. So if you're not practicing it, or when you are practicing it, you're not really trying, you're not going to see the benefit. Or you might see some, but not a lot. I can't say you're not going to, but you may not see the benefits you're looking for.
Yeah.
So practice the experience that you want to cultivate. That is the reasoning behind a lot of gratitude journals and practices with gratitude. It helps you cultivate what it is that you want for yourself.
Yeah. Agreed.
So what do I do? More specific ways you can meditate. Outside of all of the beautiful resources we've provided you, you can do guided meditations. There's all kinds of guided meditations out there. I can't even begin to list them. But some examples might be body scanning. Love body scanning. I've been doing meditation a long time, and I still enjoy a good guided body scan. That's where you go from toe to head or head to toe, and you just release tension, or you become more aware of what's happening in your body. It is amazing.
Sometimes that can be jarring for people who are not grounded. So just saying, if that happens, don't feel bad about it. She's got other great resources.
It's not for you. Right.
Yeah.
If it's not for you, try something different. You don't have to finish it. Cut it off. You're not feeling good, cut it off. Try a different one, a different person. Sometimes it's the voice of the person that just sets me in a weird place. Find someone else. Find someone you like their voice and their journey. Speaking of journeys, you could do a visual journey. Some people take you places. Love that. Because I'm a very visual person, but if you struggle with visualizing and it's just not working out for you, not for you. Breathing exercises for meditation. There's guided breathing exercises and other types of imagery. You can have music and sound and ambiance, or you can be quiet and still. Walk. You can do meditation while walking. You can do seated meditations. You can do meditation when you're in nature. You can practice the mindfulness techniques that we talked about before. Those are all considered types of ways or small portions of meditation. When to do it? Before you sleep, in the morning, before you start your day, 5-minute breaks during the day, lunchtime, doesn't matter. Find your spot, find your time, find your jam, and stick with that. Kate, when do you think is the best time for you to meditate?
Before bed, in the evening, after the day's on, or right after work. I've been making a point to do meditation and self Reiki sessions, and it just helps me end the day, leave things behind, move on. Yeah. How about you?
For me, so for a long time, it was just nighttime to help me fall asleep. I have a lot of sleep trauma. The things that have happened to me in my life have happened at nighttime. So I hold on to my body even without me knowing. And I've found out a lot through therapy, has held on to a lot. And so I have poor sleep. So it has helped with that. I can't say it has cured anything, but it definitely has helped a lot. And more recently, I've added meditation before I start like my physical day. So it might not be first thing in the morning, but before I go do something that's causing me stress or anxiety, it helps me center and focus on my gratitude, like something I'm grateful for, and or helps me detach from some of the feelings that I'm feeling. So, yeah. Other types of meditation you can use like a focus point. The big one that's used is a candle staring at a flame.
Those are great.
I'm not gonna lie.
Staring in the water.
I've done this before once, and it was great. It was fabulous. It was fabulous, but I was high as fuck.
The truth comes out.
Girl, okay, this was many years ago. I was in college, girl. Like, this is a long time. Like, we're talking a long time ago. But I was sitting in my room, high as anything, and I had a candle lit, and it must have been hours. I just stared at it. I was in a meditative state, girl. It was a meditation, and I didn't even know it. But you can do it without being high, guys.
Yes, you can. Sound frequency and meditative minds, guided visuals will get me into. Lately, I've been able to. I don't want it to sound weird, but lately in my sessions, I've been able to go into like ecstatic meditation. It is like the
Wow.
most bizarre, but I feel like my crown chakra is lit up and I am connected into source. And it's some of the best stuff. I feel like I've received so much healing from my meditations as of late. But guess what? I've been working on meditation since my early 20s. So we're going on 13 years now. And it
Yeah.
is just now that I've even reached being able to hold meditation for 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So do not feel that straight out the gate you're going to be able to do it. You might be a savant and do it,
If
but
you do it every
most of us
day,
don't.
I think what is it, every day for a few weeks,
Mm-hmm.
golden. But
Yeah.
I do it a lot more now. But when I first started, I was doing it once in a while,
Me too.
And you have to start
I
out
feel
that
like,
way. You can't just jump into,
yeah,
unless you are the person who can just jump into it. I mean, every person is different. I'm not going to say you can or can't do it any certain way. But if you do jump into it and you do diligently do the practice every day and you have the discipline to do that, woo, go you. And you are going to reach some high places. But if you can't, you don't push yourself. You will get there. You have to follow what your body's.
I remember when a minute was a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And look at me now, but
sometimes
it's taken
a minute still
time.
is a challenge for me. Sometimes.
Yeah, depending on the day.
Yep.
Meet yourself where you're at.
Yeah. You can use mantras for meditation. Mantras we can get into in another episode. There's a lot to mantras, but it can just be something that you need to hear or something that makes you feel good, and you repeat that. And it could be as simple as the one that I've used before, like, today I will not stress over things I cannot control. And that is literally the only thing you say and focus on.
Yeah.
You can focus on Om to meditate. Om, again, that sound. It comes back to the sound. And hey, if you do like singing bowls and you do sit with the sound, kind of like Kate's talking about, not every singing bowl is for you. Sometimes people don't respond well to metal singing bowls or Tibetan singing bowls. And sometimes people respond or don't respond to crystal bowls. They're different. Look into it. If you like the sound of bowls, look into the difference, because it really does sound different. I can get down both, but not everyone can. Sometimes chimes.
Just so some of you know, I've been doing a series on the chakras on my Instagram, and I've been posting affirmation videos. So when Katie's talking about mantras, those are some things you can use, and I'm corresponding them to the specific chakras. So feel free to check out my social media for that kind of stuff if you need some guidance. And then you're going to get to a point where you can create your own, just like the emotional freedom technique affirmations. It is more powerful to create your own, but I think you have to start somewhere.
Definitely. I don't create my own yet often. I'm starting to, but that's mostly because I don't know, I just feel ready to. But I've been
I think you have to be ready.
Into mantras, to be honest, for a long time. I liked to write them in my journal, but I never actually repeated them in meditation. But I'm finding that I really like that now. So that's something that might not come for you until later, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I definitely do recommend, though, if you're just starting out, to use guided meditations. Find someone that you like their voice on YouTube. Start free, start easy, start simple, start short durations. Find a type of meditation that you enjoy, whether that's a focus point, body scan, visual journey, breathing. It will tell you. Just type it in YouTube, search around, find something you like the sound of it, and go in, dive in. And when you're trying to work on letting go, which is hard, our minds are busy with all of the things that we talked about today, which there's probably more. We definitely we're not comprehensive, but tried our best. Think of thoughts as clouds, like Kate said. Kate says that she likes to think, and this might change every time, but she was saying the other day when she was doing her dusting, she was thinking about thought clouds. So put that thought into a cloud and let it pass by, just like the clouds do in the sky. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's fast. There are your clouds. So it's up to you. You can think about a river washing away. Yes, I say wash. Let's get it over with now.
Wash.
Yes. Wash.
Sounds like she's from Pennsylvania.
when I say wash, it literally hurts my throat. I can't.
Wash.
Wash. Like, you should see me. If
Wash.
you can't see me saying that, you can see it's uncomfortable for me. So let the river
wash it away.
Wash it away. Yeah, thanks. Whether you imagine yourself laying in a shallow river or running over your feet, or you just imagine putting those thoughts in a river or that river flowing, it doesn't matter. That's your imagination. You can think of thought bubbles popping. Like, that thought goes into a bubble and pops and it disappears. You can think of a breeze sweeping it away. I mean, those are just some, but there's so many ways you can visualize this. But whatever it is, put those thoughts into something and let it take it away for you. And don't think about it again. If you think about it again, there it goes, back into the river, back into a bubble, back into the cloud, and off it goes. That's how you start teaching yourself to detach from those thoughts. It is active. There's a lot of work in it in the beginning, but you have to start teaching your brain to do it that way. I don't care who you are. If you're just starting out, you have to detach. And that is the best way to do it. A really good exercise we just did in my yoga class, if thought bubbles don't work for you, this is really cool, Kate. I didn't tell you this yet. We each had a singing bowl. Some of us crystal, some of us had Tibetan, some of us had metal bowls, some of us had chimes. I actually had my hand pan with me. So I used that, and that was real awkward because everyone had these small bowls, and here I am with this big, gigantic a hand pan.
I love that for you. Yeah.
And everyone's like, oh my God, that's so cool. And they're like, how confident are you playing? I was like, 15% maybe. Like, I don't know. But anyway, so we all closed our eyes and started to meditate. There was no music, no guide, no nothing, right? Anytime we had a thought, we rang whatever it is we had, the chime, the bowl, my hand pan, you played it every time you had a thought. And then, so now sometimes you were thinking about not having a thought and you were like, oh crap, bing. But that exercise was super powerful to me, and it's not something I ever thought about, but that could be an alternative to the visualization. Some people really struggle with that. And if you try this, I recommend trying it first, and you really struggle after a couple tries. Try to give it a physical sound or something like that you touch, clap, ring, click, something that you can associate with that thought to start letting it go. It also brings a lot more awareness to the thoughts that are happening, because sometimes we don't catch them.
We don't.
I was like, wow, that was so cool. So teach your inner self to slow down this way. Teach yourself letting go, center, find the things that work for you.
Yeah. It's all about you and how you connect. But man, we covered a lot of stuff.
It was a long one, but it was needed. And there's so much more to it, as most of our podcasts right now are starting out as kind of dipping your toe in. But we had to address this because quieting your mind is imperative to a lot of the practices we're going to talk about going forward.
And knowing yourself.
Yeah.
You got to know yourself if you're going to be diving into any type of work, we'll call it. And because if you don't know yourself, it's not going to be effective.
Or at least working to know yourself better. I mean, Kate and I are both in a place where we know what is ours and what is not, if that makes sense. I don't necessarily have it all chipped away from me yet, and I saw that over Thanksgiving, but I'm aware of it, so that you don't have to be like, I have my sense of self and I'm completely ready for work now. And if you wait, you'll never be a spiritual healer if that's what you're looking to do.
You can't go into it willy-nilly either.
Correct.
You got to do it. You have to do it. There's just no way around but through. And
find your community.
Tell the truth. Telling you the truth. You can do it. But we appreciate all of you who've tuned in, who've stuck with us. We're 5 episodes in. You've been with us, we'll say. It's such a good feeling. I'm so proud of this for us. And I'm just so thankful for all of our listeners. It's been amazing so far.
I am also thankful for you guys, and we will catch you on the next
Catch you on the flip side. This is Soul Wild signing off. I'm Kate.
And I am Katie.
Tune in next time.